Retire.
I love Chris Weidman. I love him. I love his family. And I think he should retire.
Right, and he comes in, and I feel like the UFC kind of butters him a little bit, kind of gives him some easy fights.
Hey, everyone. Welcome back to Inside the Cage, where we bring you the latest and exciting updates of UFC. First, hit that subscribe button if you haven't already. Conor McGregor withdraws from UFC 296 December fight. Once again, Conor McGregor has dropped a bit of a bombshell on his fans community. Recently, he's claimed that he's being prevented from making a living and won't be participating in the UFC 296 event in December. It's pretty surprising. While just a week ago, he had excitedly shared that he'd be squaring off against Michael Chandler on the upcoming pay-per-view fight card. The change of plans, huh? When asked about his comeback, then he ended his talk by laying out his three-fight plan.
Chandler next December, and then Gaethje BMF, and then we'll do Nate trilogy.
Brilliant. Cheers. Thank you.
Furthermore, he had his last fight in July 2021 at UFC 264. At that time, he had a tough break. After his recovery, Conor was pretty confident he'd get a special pass and be given the green light to fight again before the year ended. But just today, he used his Twitter magic to drop a big reveal. It seems like a roller coaster ride for McGregor fans, right? I hold the power. I'm going to keep doing my thing. I'm in a great spot, and I'll see you all soon. Effing early next year, hopefully. Please, God, someone, Ari, my man. I'm ready, yeah. December 16th, I am ready. Nevada State Athletic Commission, Bob Bennett may have retired, unretire, because when I'm around the game, ring Bob Bennett, tell the commission what's the story because I'm being kept from my livelihood here. Turns out Bob's retired, and I'm like, what the F? I've been on the top of the game effing long. So, my friend, the time is ticking, and we are here to see what will happen next for all his fans out there. O'Malley dismisses Sterling rematch and considers clash with Gervonta Davis. You know, Sean O'Malley is kind of shutting the door on the idea of fighting Aljamain Sterling again in his first title defense. Oops, O'Malley went up against Sterling in the big spotlight of UFC 292, battling for the UFC Bantamweight Championship. It was one of those tense fights where O'Malley kept his cool, waited for the perfect moment, and bam! Right after the match, Sterling had this chat with the reporters, and he was all about wanting a rematch with O'Malley. You know, the whole give me another shot vibe. But guess what? O'Malley is not really vibing with the idea of sharing the octagon with Aljo again. O'Malley shoots down a potential Aljamain Sterling rematch and feigns surprise that Sterling is no longer committing to moving to featherweight. Whereas Sean O'Malley went ahead and threw an interesting take into the mix. In fact, he got his eyes set on Gervonta Tank Davis, the current WBA regular lightweight champ. O'Malley believes that a boxing match against Gervonta Davis will happen one day, but acknowledges that he probably needs more wins. O'Malley says that he doesn't even really follow boxing, but knows that Gervonta Davis is a big star, and he wants the biggest, most exciting fights. Furthermore, Dana White has been pretty vocal about not being a big fan of his fighters diving into the world of boxing. Now, shifting gears a bit for Sean O'Malley's immediate plans. See, he's all set to defend his title for the first time, and he's got Marlon Cheeto Vera in his sights. So, yeah, time will tell will these stars align for this clash to become the headline act of the grand finale or not. Dana White urges Chris Weidman, please, please retire. Here, Dana White clearly mentioned Chris Weidman's fighting future after that not-so-great showing at UFC 292. While Weidman stepped into the octagon for a middleweight clash against Brad Tavares over at TD Garden. Now, it's important to note that this was Chris's first fight back in action since his leg break back in April 2021. Probably Dana White is pretty much waving the retirement banner over Weidman, and he's doing it with conviction. It's like he's giving a firm nod that this might be the end of the road for Weidman in the octagon.
Retire.
I love Chris Weidman. I love him. I love his family, and I think he should retire. We talked to Doc D. Doc D thinks he blew his MCL, ACL. He blew one of the CLs, and you know, guy's just coming back from a gruesome injury, and you know, listen, man, father time is not our friend at all, but definitely if you're a professional athlete, it's depending on the damage to the knee, you're talking another year. So I would say, Chris, I love you. Please retire.
At that time, Weidman is 39 years old, and he's had quite a rough stretch with 7 losses in his last 9 fights. This is the reason Dana's not really agree with the idea of Weidman wanting more fights.
Weidman reached the pinnacle of the sport and did it in spectacular fashion, knocking out one of the greatest of all time, right? And what's now? Why? You know what I mean? To come back and feel it one more time? We felt it tonight, and he blew his knee out, and he's going to have to go through crazy surgery again and recover from it. It's just like, wow, you've already done it all. You've accomplished everything that you could hope to accomplish in the UFC.
These are the kind of things that every fighter goes through in their career journey. The highs, the lows, the injuries, the wins, the losses. It's all part and parcel of the fight game. Guys, if you're enjoying the video, we'd love your support. Just hit that subscribe button to motivate us to bring you more exciting content. Aljamain Sterling responds to title loss at UFC 292. After tonight's UFC 292 event in Boston, Aljamain Sterling didn't waste time before sharing his thoughts. Now, Sterling had his eyes set on securing his fourth consecutive title defense when he stepped into the cage against Sean O'Malley. This match was a big deal. Before that, he'd notched a TKO win over TJ Dillashaw and scored a split-decision victory against Peter Yan in his initial title defense. And here's the climax. In the second-round TKO victory of O'Malley, he simply released his heavy right hand. In fact, that blow sent Sterling crashing to the mat, and O'Malley finished the job with some ground and pound. Right after the dust settled, Aljamain Sterling jumped onto Twitter and dropped a statement about his title loss to Sean O'Malley. "I'm more than all right. I have everything I need right here." Sterling captioned the photos. Now here is the big question. What's next for Aljamain Sterling? After that TKO loss, people are wondering whether Sterling will stick around in the 135-pound division or follow through with his previous plan of jumping up to the UFC's featherweight division. It's a bit of a crossroads for him, and everyone's on the edge of their seats to see which path he takes. The Ultimate Fighter winner calls out Paddy Pimblett at UFC 292. Recently, Paddy Pimblett's getting some attention in the octagon. After his victory on The Ultimate Fighter, Kurt Hollabaugh decided to stir the pot a bit. Hollabaugh snagged his third chance in the UFC by locking in a submission victory over Austin Hubbard in Boston just the other night. After his win, Hollabaugh got his eyes set on a new target, Paddy Pimblett. "I've waited a long time to get on this microphone and it feels good. I'm a jiu-jitsu black belt and I didn't go into that Ultimate Fighter house being able to show all of my skills. Hey, I know a lot of people call you out, but Paddy the Baddie, if you want to fight a real Ultimate Fighter winner, let's go, baby. I'm right here waiting. I ain't going nowhere." Gradually, things are heating up. Paddy Pimblett has been on the sidelines this entire year due to an ankle injury that he picked up in his rather contentious win against Jared Gordon back in December. Yep, it's been a bit of a waiting game for the Baddie. But the good news is that he's projected to make his return to the octagon in the first part of next year. A classic showdown is brewing in the UFC universe.
Yeah, man, he's got a name. He's a rising star. But reality is, I was in the UFC long before that guy, right? And he comes in, and I feel like the UFC kind of butters him a little bit, kind of gives him some easy fights. But, you know, he's never fought somebody with the experience that I have. He's never fought somebody that's just did what I did on the Ultimate Fighter show. Boom, I had to go through a murderous row of guys in the house, and that's fighting twice in 10 days and then preparing for this fight tonight. So, and I feel like every guy that I fought and beat in the house is better than Paddy. So why not give me a big fight against one of the biggest rising stars in the world? Yeah, absolutely. Like you said, all gas, no brakes. I'm not getting any younger. But I'm not satisfied just being back here in the UFC. I want to be here. I want to make a legit run. I think I could do that. I want to get a number beside my name, and I want to keep on going. I want to keep on fighting some of the best guys in the world. I want to keep testing myself, and always the ultimate goal is to be UFC world champion.
So here we are, with Hollabaugh throwing down the challenge and Paddy Pimblett potentially getting a spicy new matchup on the horizon. It's like the fighters are writing their storyline, and we're just here for the ride. All right, guys, that's all for today. Don't forget to like and subscribe to our channel. See you at the next one. Until then, goodbye.